First thing I like to do is experience the business and their website without much previous information about it. I come in with a fresh perspective, a fresh pair of eyes. I will try to experience the whole thing with usually just the knowledge of what they do or what the service they provide. This way, I can also see if there's something in the process that just doesn't make sense to me as a user, and probably there are other users as well.
Looking like a baddie, I show up and make them stop. Wanna know my name so badly, cause I run this whole block. Flip my hair, move my head, show the world I'm royalty. When I walk by, they be taking bows, cause they know I'm the queen, yeah.
Hey there, guys. I'm Carla. I'm a digital strategist based from the Philippines, mostly doing performance marketing until I took any spare time I have in recent years to learning conversion rate optimization and experimentation. As a performance marketer, we're always after getting results and bring business to our clients. Perhaps that's where my curiosity really started. I'm in a unique position to incorporate a CRO process that helps them achieve their business goals and also improve how we do things. Believe me, I understand how difficult, how challenging it is to build your own CRO process. But as someone who went through the early stages, a huge chunk of the challenge is knowing where and how to start. Explaining how it works so people find value in it, and managing expectations from this process to your team, to your clients, come in a close second. So today, I'll make CRO and experimentation simpler and maybe less scary. In the Philippines, where I come from, when I talk to clients or even with colleagues, CRO is often mistaken as just A B testing, experimenting with landing pages, directly changing the conversion page. Or the most common would be changing the CTA button's color or text. Yes, they are tactics we can try, but it's not just that. CRO is far more complex and beautiful than that. Believe it or not, when conversing during a strategy alignment or a performance review, I've heard people say a lot of things about their understanding of CRO. As you can see right there, those are some of the common insights. They are all more focused on providing shortcuts for their users that benefit their business without fully understanding why and what the problem is. While their tactics may not be entirely wrong, the core issue is that the approach to optimization is not grounded on research. Yes, I agree that we want users to perform a specific action to bring us business, but CRO is really concerned with determining the blockers and friction points from the perspective of your users and customers. And we try to address it. These are the things that impede businesses from getting that sale and nurturing a relationship with customers. I think this is one of the core challenges in starting a CRO program. In the last 7 years, I don't think I've heard the consensus on what CRO really is about and how to do it. But conferences like these allow us to get close to a standard at least. The CRO qualification exam by Experimentation is really helpful in terms of building a structure to your thought process. So I suggest that if you have the time, check it out, even just for the learning materials before taking the exam. For sure, different CROs have different ways of working and play different roles, but when we're starting from scratch and trying to learn, there are at least two main problems we need to cover and solve: blind optimization and data overload. Apart from getting buy-in later in your process, the biggest blocker is knowing where and how to start, as I mentioned earlier. The intention of optimizing your website, your process, your business is a huge step toward the right direction, but that's not enough. Marketing managers, businesses, anyone who has a hand in delivering strategies for a business growth can be optimizing blindly or may not be maximizing the data in front of them. To be able to get the most out of your resources, your time, your team, you need to make better sense of what's happening. For me, there are three key stages in a CRO process: diagnosis, solution building, where experimentation comes in, and learning to keep improving and optimizing. Of course, as your CRO process matures, the steps could be more complex, but the fundamental ideas would still go back to these three. Take the time to diagnose so you get to build a better picture of where you are and what you need to do. Then feel free to ask as much questions as you need or have to lay a good groundwork for your experiments, for your fixes. From my personal experience in building our CRO process, our experimentation is only as good as the diagnostics we did. So when I start working with a website, the initial diagnosis will be my basis in creating an optimization roadmap, plotting the potential solutions we can do. What's the most pressing problems? What are the easy fixes? What are the most impactful tactics? What are the things that we can do right now? And what are the projects or functions we can work on in the next few months? Can we do A/B tests or should we do other forms of experimentations? This way, we can have a better grasp of the projects that we need to do, and we can avoid being overly excited about one thing and forget the rest. Personally, I think clients and stakeholders alike find more value to CRO when they understand what the problems are and the implications to their business. Experimentation and optimizations become more manageable because we try to speak and present things according to what they value. Eventually, learning flexibility from these efforts become more and more acceptable.
This is Romo Santiago from Experimentation. Every week we share interviews with and conference sessions by our favorite conversion rate optimizers from around the world. So if you like this video, smash that like button and consider subscribing. It helps us a bunch. Now back to the episode.
Sometimes, I like to think that CROs are doctors of their own right. Off the top of our head, especially with familiarity and experience, you could have ideas of problems and opportunities a website and a business could have just by heuristics and an initial interview. However, like doctors, we request for lab work to see what's actually happening beneath the surface or just to confirm our initial thoughts. Doctors want to see what's really happening so they can plan for care better. The same is true with CRO. The better doctors understand what the patient is feeling and how they want to improve their health later on, the better they can help because they have better context and the fuller picture. In the case of CRO and experimentation, the better we understand what happens behind the scenes, the better our recommendations are, the better the experiments we can do, the better learnings we get. Limiting the guesswork with more data points we use and makes sense. Makes sense of. Let's go through the basic diagnostic process I go through. First thing I like to do is experience the business and their website without much previous information about it. I come in with a fresh perspective, a fresh pair of eyes. I will try to experience the whole thing with usually just the knowledge of what they do or what the service they provide. This way, I can also see if there's something in the process that just doesn't make sense to me as a user, and probably there are other users as well. This will allow me to make sense of the data I will be seeing when I check their data points later on. I will also try to determine what are the selling points of the company from my perspective as a potential buyer. I have to be careful though, because I want to avoid bias as much as possible. I just need to make sure that I take note of the pain points they have because more often than not, our clients are not aware of it until it's explicitly pointed out. Take, for example, the screenshot I have there. They're an e-commerce company that didn't realize how long and redundant their process is until it was visualized. It's messy, I know, but it steered them into action and looking to improve it. Next, I talk to stakeholders. It can be a point of contact or their bosses, but usually I want to understand their vision and their goals from their company's perspective. You might see some misalignments on their vision, and this is the perfect time to figure out that gray area based on what you also saw from the previous process. Maybe you'll find an explanation to some of the red flags or opportunities you saw. Having a brief of what their company does and what it solves and what their goals are in the foreseeable future allows us to prioritize, especially with our optimization roadmap down the road. The third step is to leverage your data points. Just one source won't give you enough information to optimize your business, your website, but we have to understand that each data point we have may have different attribution models and data collection methodology. So in the early stages, read up and learn how these data points correlate or how can you connect them together. What's your source of truth? How can you corroborate the insights? You know, how can you collaborate and use these data points to make a story? Nothing wrong with taking some time to go through the reports, the dashboards, and be familiar with them. In the sample I'm showing right now, I did an initial checkup using their available heat maps, their session recordings, and Google Analytics data. Their biggest opportunity is to fix their content flow. Why? They are a relatively low traffic site with a high bounce rate and exits on their main page, both on mobile and desktop. My fourth step is to spend time researching. Don't just throw out tests. It just doesn't work like that. Sure, We've determined initial friction points and opportunities, but if we limit ourselves to just those information, we increase the chances of just doing band-aid solutions. Sometimes the answer is just there if we ask our users. So we do surveys or user testing. Sometimes we just get blinded by beautiful layouts, so we forget to design things to allow the brain to make connections and shortcuts. So that's where heuristics come from. Often, we're missing out on opportunities just because we wanted to copy the competition. Doing competitor benchmarking, the most important question we need to ask is how we can improve on what they are doing. Why? Because we don't really know if what they're doing is actually working. So we want to improve on that. My fifth step is extremely important to help decide if experimentation is possible and how you should design it. In last year's conference, this was one of my key takeaways from Haley Carpenter. So be mindful of your minimum detectable effect, test duration, and sample size. There are pre-test calculations or a sample size calculator available online. Just check. But this step is extremely helpful to stop you from doing experiments that may not be really trustworthy and fleshing out resources that could have been allocated elsewhere. Haley did an in-depth session here. I'm sure you'll find it in Experimentation's YouTube playlist. Just check it out. My background as an account manager and project manager has been really helpful in trying to ensure that we explain the results in the simplest manner, and try to tell a story from the data that we can see. Every client is different because their understanding and appreciation depends on their digital marketing maturity. But if we align the presentation to the things they value and understand, helping them make better sense of their data, that's a big win for our CRO process because it allows you to continue and to get that buy-in. Lastly, I would remind you to tag those ideas. Make categories for yourself or your team to keep track of the general ideas of your optimization. Is it for usability? Is it for your product packaging, your services? Is it for brand appeal? At the end of the day, this will help tell you if you're keeping in track with the optimization or the goal or the priority that you have. Most importantly, this file will help you learn from both wins and losses you had over time. As a young CRO, I find note taking extremely important, especially on your diagnosis phase. On average, I take note of at least 3 opportunities or problem we can work on for every cycle or sprint that I do. I don't force myself to give out on a hypothesis or a solution or even experiment data immediately. I just find it important to ensure it's noted because it helps me untangle the mess and break down the challenge we're having later on. Please don't stop on the diagnosis phase. Please push to solving those solutions, test out those ideas, get your hands dirty, and be proven wrong or correct. That's the only way to learn, as you can see here from my cycle. You can't skip the solution part or the solving part. This is essential. This is extremely essential to your learning process and to you improving your process. In Spiralytics, we break down the process a little bit more. After we do our initial look through the website, we start getting to know our clients and then understanding what their goals are, what their products are, what their services or products solve. And then we take that into account when we do our initial diagnosis, looking through their data and everywhere. We build solutions around it, we experiment or fix low-hanging fruits. But in any case, in every implementation we do, they will expect an analysis after so that we can keep optimizing, we can keep learning. Of course, one of my first test subjects would be our own website. The main problem is that not many people make it down our services and conversion completions against traffic needs improvement. This page particularly is still being optimized, but we've seen improvement after allowing a shortcut from the second fold to the services. And then we also fleshed out key information about what we do on the service that's provided there, improving the number of conversions we got over time. The second case was improving our contact form. Our main problem there includes slow loading, and our qualified leads were slowing down. So we improved, customized the fields according to what was essential only to what they were inquiring for. And then we keep things loading as quickly as we can, keep improving this. The result was we cut our average time on page into half, page two, and saw an increase in qualified leads from 58% to 71% comparing the same period. Lastly, we're doing a low traffic site with a confusing information architecture. There's quite a number of issues here, to be honest, but since we're doing SEO for them, we've roadmapped it, combining the two disciplines um, to work through and improve their performance. So far, we've managed to determine a user journey that increased the number of quality leads they got. We're doing low-powered tactics for now, so we're not really focusing on conversions just yet. But at every stage, we keep learning and cascade them to the next effort. We're nowhere close to stopping here. As someone still young, among experienced optimizers, there's valuable lessons in getting your first experiment set up wrong, in being proven wrong, in getting your hypothesis wrong, in analyzing and trying to plan out how you'll go about the problem, or if you should move forward, or should you stop. And yes, even getting the issues of your experiment designs wrong. It's challenging, it's scary, but I promise it's fun. Please, please get your hands dirty. Try it out. The process will eventually mature. Thanks for listening, guys, and good luck. If you got thoughts or want to collaborate, feel free to connect. Catch you guys soon.
This is Romo Santiago from Experiment Nation. Every week we share interviews with and conference sessions by our favorite conversion rate optimizers from around the world. So if you like this video, smash that like button and consider subscribing.